A workflow is an organizational process that has a clear beginning, some sequential steps, and then an end. And a workflow might sit at the very core of your business, like an order entry process or a shipping process to send products to customers. Or it could serve more of a supporting role, like a process that allows employees to submit a timesheet or request time off for a vacation. This workflow is a small, simple workflow that was designed to allow an employee to apply to be part of a management training program. This is one of those supporting workflows. In this workflow, the employee has an idea that they'd like to apply, and they fill out a form and submit that form to their immediate supervisor. Perhaps they carry it over and put it on their desk, or maybe it's sent as an attachment to email. Perhaps it's a form that's filled out online. After their supervisor decides whether or not they should accept the request, they forward this form to the HR department, and everyone who applies then is sent back an email indicating whether they were accepted or rejected for the program. So this is a very simple workflow. Perhaps there's another step as well. For example, it might be that for some employees or for some specific management training programs, the immediate supervisor's signature isn't always enough. Perhaps it needs to be sent on to management, moved up the chain, so to speak, and then moves along to HR and employee notification. This is a case where a workflow has two different branches and a condition. Does this need to be approved by others, as well as some actions? Workflows can also incorporate parallel branches. So here's a workflow that's a little bit more complex. We have an employee creating a presentation that's going to be used at the company's annual meeting. In our first step, we see the employee working away and creating the presentation. Then they need to send it to the marketing department where it's going to be buffed up a little bit. That's all nice and clean. But now 3 different people need to sign off on this presentation before we're going to share it with our stockholders. We have the Chief Financial Officer, we have the Chief Operations Officer, and the Chief Executive Officer, or CEOs. So all of the CXOs need to take a look at this. They don't need to do it in any particular order. And as a matter of fact, ordering these might actually create a bottleneck or a slowdown because it could be that the Chief Financial Officer is out of town. And by the time we wait for him or her to finish their review, now the CEO has other obligations. So this is a time that it makes more sense to allow each of these reviews to happen at the same time, in parallel with each other. We need 3 signatures, but we don't need them in any particular order. Finally, after all 3 of our chief officers have signed off, the presentation is sent to the IT department, and they're going to post it on the webpage, so it will be available for the annual meeting. Now, whether or not there are parallel branches in a workflow, every workflow goes through a series of steps. It has a start, a series of steps, and an end. New to SharePoint 2013, we can actually create a workflow that would double back on itself. And it used to be that in prior versions of SharePoint, we could never back things up. We could never actually send them back. But in SharePoint 2013, we can. We have a new structure called a loop that would allow us to say that if any of the 3 executives turn down this presentation, they send it back for more comments, that we can actually have the workflow send it back either to marketing or send it all the way back to the originator. So when you think about workflows, the workflow is an outline of a business process that contains some way for users to interact, usually with forms, and logic that drives all the steps in between. We'll spend the rest of this course learning how to develop and build workflows in SharePoint.